If you know anything about music, you know that vintage is cool. Guitarists have known this for years. Vintage guitars are way cooler and sound way better than modern guitars, which is why good players have them. Now the thing is, what if you can't wait 50 years to get that vintage vibe? Well, if you're clever, you can get it on any instrument you want. The big manufacturers will even do it for you, which is why this basic Fender Squier Strat costs $200, while this Fender Custom Shop Strat costs over $8,000. Same guitar, same shape, same strings, no real difference. So what do you get for that extra $8,000? The answer is you get vintage. We're going to show you how to get that exact same vintage on your synth. Whatever keyboard you have, you can make it look and play just like it's been touring for 50 years and add value in the process. So let's start with the basics. Here we have a wonderful synthesizer, the Yamaha DX7. This is a stone-cold classic in its own right, but you can see it looks very clean and shiny and kind of plasticky and new. This thing doesn't have any vintage going on at all. And if you've just bought a brand new Roland or a Nord or a Virus or whatever, chances are it's also looking pretty new. We are going to change all that. And you want to start by just dinging and scratching it up a little. I'm using some 100 grit wet and dry paper here to simulate decades of natural finger presses. And you can see already that wear is starting to show. This is good. This is the natural wear that would come from the player's fingers. And with just a little bit of research, you can target the patches, the individual patches that were most popular for a particular synthesizer. And for the DX series, that of course is the bass sound. So we'll be really working on those. And already you can see this pattern of wear coming together here and starting to give it that vintage. Now, another trick that guitar relicers use is to add some small dings or scratches to the instrument using something irregular like a bunch of house keys. That's not really getting it there, so we're going to go in it's a little bit harder here. This, you can see right here, this is what we're looking for. This is a typical patina of age. And now we've got some of those buttons coming off right there, and that's exactly what we want to see, because a real keyboard that's been played by a real player, this is exactly the kind of pattern of wear that it's going to show. See if I can get another one here. And there we go. Just a little more wear around the edges and the corners here. So let's turn our attention now to the screen, which is of course the focus of the instrument. So you really want to concentrate some vintage here. And I'm going to try to get that distressed look by antiquing it a little here. Ah, there we go. Now that is really starting to come together. And over at this end, we're going to work a little bit here on the data sliders. I'm just going to try and get a bit of a vibe to these. These would very often have ended up looking like this. And also a little wear to the track area of the sliders here. Lovely. Now you also want to concentrate on getting the vintage right into the fabric of the machine here. And all those years of blood, sweat, and tears that come from rock and roll, it would not be a real gig without beer. So that's what we're going to use for the next step of our project. Okay, well, we're going to just work this in here, into these sliders, and into the tracks around the sliders. You want to get into the tracks and around the buttons here and really work this in. Some people do say that you should use an American beer for an American synth and something like an Asahi or a Kirin for your Japanese synths, but I have to say I think it goes a little farther. I don't think that really matters. You know, this thing is already starting to smell like the real deal. I can feel that rock vibe just coming off it now. We are going to concentrate now on the keyboard area, which of course over the years would have seen a lot of attention. A modern synthesizer simply doesn't have any mojo in its keyboard, so that's what we're going to add right now. Now as you do this, you want to target the area which would have seen the most use. Now this is a DX7, often used for bass sounds, so I am targeting my attention down here in the bass area of the keyboard. And this is just coming together beautifully now. Now, on a lot of really vintage keyboards, you'll see some yellowing of the paler plastic parts and of the keys. And that's a look that just screams vintage, so we need to get down with that. One option is simply to leave your keyboard outside in the sunshine and the rain for 2 or 3 months. But while that will achieve the vintage look, it takes a while. So we're going to take a shortcut. Now what we're trying to do here is to get maybe 30 or 40 years worth of powerful stage lighting into those keys. And maybe a couple of hours should do it. And now here you can see the end result of that aging process, which has really given the keys the mojo we were looking for. And you can see that by comparison here, we have a modern synthesizer on which we have not yet started the relicing process, and these keys have no mojo. And so now we're done. We've gone from this, a nice enough synth, but with no real character or vintage to distinguish it from the next, to this, which just says, I have traveled the world and the 7 seas, I have seen things, I have done stuff, play me, rock out, I will be your sonic muse, and I will inspire you to create. So all that remains is for us to turn this beauty on and to hear that vintage tone that we've created in action.